Hey there, everyone. It's Matt Donahue with Mission Financial Planners. This is your weekly update for the week ending March 29th. It is April Fool's. It is also Easter Monday. The Easter Bunny came yesterday. Easter Bunny brought me the Daily Stoic Journal, which, believe it or not, as you can tell, I'm coming to you from home today. The Daily Stoic is where we get our philosophy quotes from, and it's the only book that I consistently have on my desk. Easter Bunny brought me the journal, so I got to start working through that. Maybe that was a hint from the Easter Bunny because she did a great job and she always wants me to get better. So um, let's jump into it though. So market moving news last week: S&P and Dow both were at record high closing prices for the week. Holiday shortened week because of course the markets weren't open on Friday. They both posted fractional gains while the Nasdaq did slip. However, March ended up being the fifth month in a row where all the major U.S. indices were up. S&P posted its strongest first quarter, I should say, since 2019. That index climbed 10.2% just for the quarter. Nasdaq added 9.1, Dow rose 5.6. Over the last 5 months, the S&P 500, I should say, has surged 25.3% just in the last 5 months. Inflation moderation. Okay, Friday's reading, the Federal Reserve's preferred gauge for tracking inflation, showed that consumer prices, rose at a much slower pace than they had a few months earlier. The Personal Consumption Expenditures Price Index rose at a 2.8% annual rate in February, and of course that excludes food and energy prices. That result was unchanged from the previous month's figure, which was the slowest increase since March of 21, almost 3 years ago. So inflation is definitely going in the right direction. Upward GDP adjustment. A boost from consumer spending prompted the government to adjust its final estimate of fourth quarter economic growth. The GDP rose at a 3.4% annual rate, up from an earlier estimate of 3.2. The result marked the sixth quarter in a row that the annual growth rate has exceeded 2%. Japan's currency sank on Wednesday to its lowest level against the US dollar since 1990, in almost 35 years. The recent decline in the yen's value comes as Japan's government and central bank weigh options to prop up their currency amid recent domestic inflationary pressures. Commodities rallied last week. Gold and oil posted solid weekly gains, extending a run of recently strong results for both commodities. Gold spot prices on Friday were around $22.30 an ounce. That's $2,230 an ounce, a record high. U.S. crude was trading around $83 a barrel, up from around 81 at the end of the previous week and around 71 at the start of 2024. Q1 earnings expectations are modestly positive heading into earnings season, which opens in mid-April. Major banks will begin the reporting with their first quarter results. As of Thursday, analysts surveyed by the FactSet were expecting companies in the S&P to post an average earnings of a increase of about 3.6% compared with the same period a year ago, potentially the third consecutive quarter of year-over-year earnings growth, which is great news. Jobs ahead, a monthly labor market report due out on Friday will show whether the recent trend of better than expected jobs numbers extended into March. In February, the economy generated 275,000 new jobs, above the roughly 200,000 that economists had been expecting, and the unemployment rate did, however, rise to 3.9%, while unemployment rose as well. We have a lot of reports this week. Starting today, we had the Institute for Supply Management's Manufacturing Index, construction spending from the U.S. Census Bureau. Tuesday, job openings and labor turnover survey from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, factory orders from the U.S. Census Bureau. Wednesday, ADP National Employment Report from ADP and Institute for Supply Management's Non-Manufacturing Index. Thursday, weekly unemployment claims from the U.S. Department of Labor, trade balance from the U.S. Census Bureau, and then Friday, jobs and unemployment from the Bureau of Labor and consumer credit from the U.S. Federal Reserve. All in all, folks, the economy's going great. The economy's growing great. All the data shows things are going in a good, positive direction right now. Do they last forever? They never do. We've all been around the block long enough. In fact, we were having a discussion this morning on the team about how many recessions or serious market downturns we've seen. Guys, I've been in this business now for almost 25 years. I started in March of 2000. I've seen dot-com bubble, mortgage meltdown, had a great run for about 10, 12 years, right? But then COVID hit. And then, of course, we had the 2022 debacle, right? Where bonds and stocks were both down for the year in 2022. Well, and that was due to rising interest rates for the most part. All that being said, folks, on average, every 6 years, something goes awry, right? So the good times are here. Stay disciplined, right? Don't get too excited. Don't get too scared that things are going well. They're going to go up. They're going to go down. They're going to go up. They're going to go down. It's what happens, right? We all know the economy works in cycles. It works in cycles. So that is my segue into our philosophy quote of the week, which comes from Marcus Aurelius, and it is the color of your thoughts. Your mind will take the shape of what you frequently hold in thought, for the human spirit is colored by such impressions. So, what Marcus was getting at with that quote was that the things you're thinking about all day, the things that you choose to surround yourself with, the people you choose to surround yourself with, the people you talk to, the people you decide to listen to, those are the people who are going to color your thoughts and make you think and do things in a certain way. The question you should be asking yourself is that what you want? Right? Or do you want to make up your own mind on things? Do you want to make sure that your voice is being heard? And I know most people would prefer that, right? So be cautious about the people you choose to surround yourself with, the people you choose to listen to, right? Tax tips of the week. So tax extensions and penalties. Hey, April 15th, we have 14 days to get taxes in. I'm going to talk a lot about extensions and penalties. The bottom line is this, folks. If you file an extension and then you end up paying after you do finally get things filed, you're going to pay a 1/2% penalty on, any quote unquote late payments. Right? If you don't file an extension and then you just go and file thinking, what's the difference? You're going to pay a 5% penalty. Would you rather pay a 0.5% or would you rather pay 5%? I know most people would rather pay 0.5%. So, a couple things you need to know about filing for an extension. File on time even if you can't pay. Okay? File the extension, get it filed on time. You can file a Form 9465 installment agreement request. Basically, guys, you send that in, the IRS will agree to get the money from you however you can do it. They're going to want 6 years to do it, but you can get the money in the door. Extra time to file is not extra time to pay. What did I just say? You're going to pay a penalty either way, right? It's just, would you rather pay the 0.5% penalty or would you rather pay the 5% penalty? Use IRS Free File to request an extension. Use Form 4868, which is the application for automatic extension of time to file U.S. individual income tax return. You have to get this in the door by the due date in April. If you e-file your electronic fund or your extension request, you can also pay any balance due by authorizing an electronic funds withdrawal from your checking or savings account. Of course, you need to have your routing and your account numbers handy. You may also want to consider Form 1127 if there's a financial hardship that does not allow you to send money in with the extension of the tax return. Some of the things that they're going to consider a hardship. This first one is great. This is a hardship, all right. It's death. Okay, that's the first one. Death, disability, high medical bills, bankruptcy, disasters. Those are examples of financial hardship. A couple last points to consider on this. Extension Form 4868. That gives you an automatic extension of up to 6 months. Pay taxes by credit card, check, money order, or electronic payments. You can pay over the phone or via internet. Just remember, if you pay with a credit card, you're going to have some credit card fees potentially. The IRS is going to charge you a fee as well. Late payment with the extension, it's 0.5%, 0.5% versus 5% if you're just late filing. Get the extension in the door. Okay. If you owe less than $50,000 and you can't pay the tax, file Form 9465. The IRS will pretty much accept any agreement that you propose. There's a fee and the interest is compounded daily. They'll give you 6 years to pay the taxes owed, but you can't be late in filing at any point over the next 5 years. And then finally, Form 1127 allows you to file and pay taxes late if you have a financial hardship. So get your taxes in. If you can't afford to pay, right, or if you can't gather all your data, you're waiting on a 1099 or something like that, just make sure that you file the extension, right? Any penalty you want it to be as small as possible. And it might be easier to just file the extension, pay the small penalty, and then get the right thing in the first time than try to rush and have to go back and amend the return. So just use your common sense with that. Healthy tip of the week. We're going to kind of double down on the chronic illness thing. And the reason why is my barber this weekend, I went and get my hair cut and I get the Clooney, right? I'm at that point in my life, I have enough gray hair. and I'm good looking, right? So I get I get to do the clean, especially with my Coke bottles on. But the biggest thing though is chronic illness in general. Chronic illness, folks, and I'm going to give you some tips for living with chronic conditions here in just a moment. That comes from the Mayo Clinic. But something I want to just reinforce: chronic illness is the definition of long-term care. And so when you're thinking about your long-term care plan, long-term care steps in when there's a chronic illness, and insurance companies don't care what caused the illness, right? It could be an injury, it could be an accident of some accident, it could be an illness, right? Doesn't matter what caused it. The fact is now you're dealing with this chronic condition. The chronic conditions that long-term care insurance will help pay for are going to be things where you can't do at least 2 out of 6 activities of daily living. Now, most people do 5 of the 6 activities right away when they get out of bed in the morning. Transferring, toileting, bathing, dressing, and eating. Those are 5 of the 6 right there. Incontinence is another one. And then, of course, if you have a cognitive impairment that requires substantial supervision, that is considered a chronic illness and activity of daily living, all in by itself. Here's the thing, though. All those conditions I just talked about are caused by a chronic illness. And a chronic illness will come as a shock. And like I said, my barber this weekend, I go in to get my hair cut. She looks exhausted. I'm like, Liz, what's up? And she says, my husband had a stroke on Thursday. Liz is 50, or I think her husband is 54. These things are going to happen. And I have met so many people over the years who have been like, it's not going to happen to me. It never happened to my parents. It never happened here. No, 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 no. You don't know that. I'll just say that right up front. You don't know that. So I don't really care what your long-term care plan is, right? It doesn't necessarily have to have an insurance policy in the mix. You just need to make sure you have a long-term care plan. Okay, so just make sure you've got a plan. If you need help with that, let us know. We can help you with that. We own our own insurance agency, right? I mean, we can do this for you, right? But we're all certified financial planners on our team, which means we're going to look at the whole picture. And we may tell you, hey, just set aside some funds. You're good otherwise. We may say, hey, get some leverage through this life insurance policy, right? There's a bunch of ways you can do it. Okay, just make sure you have a plan. Okay, so tips for living well with chronic illnesses. The first one is understand your condition. What are you really going to be able to do? What aren't you going to be able to do? Nothing will be more frustrating than having that new chronic illness and you're not understanding why you can't do certain things. So make sure you understand your condition. The second thing is dealing with your emotions. I was bulletproof until now what? Not bulletproof anymore. That's hard to deal with. I don't care who you are, right? That's hard to deal with. So there's a flood of emotions that you'll be dealing with if you're married. Important people in your life, they're going to be dealing with it too because you're not going to be the same person you were on the back end of that, right? Assuming that you eventually start to get better. And then try to use your illness as a catalyst for something, hopefully personal growth, right? Once you can get to the point where you accept the fact that this has happened, here's what life is going to be like going forward. Um, Remember this, folks, you're still here, right? And remember what I said with the philosophy quote from Marcus Aurelius today, right? That that quote to me can really give you food for thought, right? Your mind will take the shape of what you frequently hold in thought. You had a stroke, you can't move certain things, you can't talk the way you used to, but you're alive. You've got therapy to do. You have rehab to do. You've got to get to work, right? The pity party's over. And that's, eventually you've got to get there, right? And then once you've learned to live with it, okay, how can my experience potentially help other people? That's part of the reason we do these video blogs, right? Is to say, hey, here's the stuff we're seeing, here's the stuff we're talking about, here's the questions we have from a lot of people. So on that bright note, right? Try to be a service, try to help other people. Thank you so much for everything you do with us. Thank you for your time. We really appreciate that you do take time out of your day to to check out this video. If you do have any questions, go to our website, www.missionfinancialplanners.com. Once again, www.missionfinancialplanners.com. Give us a call, 888-339-0093. Once again, 888-339-0093. You can also text or email me directly at 726-727-6581, or send me an email, mdonahue, don't forget the silent G, mdonahue at mf, not what you're thinking, mfplanners.com. Thanks again, everyone. Have a great week. Happy April Fool's Day. I hope somebody got you good, and I will talk to you soon.